You could gauge value on a person in real life. In high school, how many people fuck with you? Are you on a basketball team? Football team? Track? Are you at least a star on track? If you're not at least some of those, bro, how pretty do you look? You don't got that either, you're cooked. You're cooked. Today is gonna be me, it's gonna be chat, and we are reacting to a video from the one, the only, the homie, Saddest. Peaking in high school is sad. Let's get into it. I think peaking in high school happens so often. I think it is something sad, but I think it's natural enough for it to not be considered as sad as it really is.
Peaking in high school has got to be one of the most saddest things ever.
Agreed?
More sad than a kid finding out that Santa isn't real.
Okay.
High school was definitely an interesting era. It's the years that took up a good part of our teenage life. School drama was the center of attention, the community was small enough to know who was dating who, and if two people threw hands, the entire school would be talking.
I'm not gonna lie though, but right there, that's where you got your cheaters being bred, bro. Everybody knew who was dating who, but that did not stop them from taking your girl. I ain't gonna lie. That wasn't necessarily my problem in high school, kind of a little bit, but not really. But a lot of other people, some of the things that I was hearing happening to people's significant others, bro, that condensed space with all them children, bro, bad things happen, bro.
About it. We all had the same teachers, so if there was a test, we could just ask someone from the earlier periods what was on it. But after those 4 years, high school comes to an end.
Right.
I can feel nostalgic about it, miss it sometimes, but I wouldn't ever go back to it.
Right.
We've all graduated, and I assumed that everyone moved on with their life, right?
Right.
Wrong. Because there's a phenomenon called peaking in high school. And what that is pretty much people who had their best life in high school and was never able to reach that amount of success or popularity after they graduate. Or even worse, have it downhill from there. It's when the varsity prodigy of the basketball team or any other sport is breaking records for that year, but then they get into the leagues and they just can't seem to compete.
Damn.
Or is the prettiest girl at the school
Using Julian Newman is crazy.
that always gets the guys chasing her, but now she has 2 kids and doesn't even know who the baby daddy is. It's so common.
You gonna hit him like that? You gonna hit him with the truth bomb like that? Look, you could do whatever you want after high school, but some of the things, bro, is wild. I have a homie, bro. Sometimes we and her will literally go through our high school like following together, gang. We'll just go through it and we'll look, and sometimes we both just sitting there like, damn, bro, because it really hit. It really hits when you're thinking like you're remembering how lit certain people in your high school was. Like they knew where the party was at. They go to school surrounded by friends. They had every opportunity. They might have been cool. And then you just see them now and you just like, damn. You know what I'm saying? It's not even like damn, like bad. It's just like, damn. You know what I'm saying? It's like you were supposed to be the one or the ones or nah, bro. I actually have it to the point where I think when you're popular in high school, I actually think it nerfs you when you're an adult. I think it nerfs you when you're an adult because I think there's a learning period that comes from like being in that middle to like lower end of like the high school caste system. And when you get out of high school, when you get out of college and you're not popping no more, you don't really know what to do with yourself, with your time, etc. So you don't build yourself into a great individual. Now, some people do escape that, but I'm saying it does kind of happen though.
We've at least seen one skit video clowning on the topic for those who peaked in high school. But I believe peaking in high school is this common because it's the transition from being a kid to being an adult. In the school system that we're used to, there was direct progression as a form of guidance.
Right.
You pass your classes, then you move up to the next grade.
Right.
And during these years, you're kept in a bubble where you move up along your peers.
Right.
You might be surrounded with different people when you switch from middle school to high school, but the circle stays small with a maximum of only a couple hundred or a couple thousand students. But after the 12th grade or senior year, you're out. You're on your own to figure out what's next for you.
Right.
We used to see the same people at school every day, but now we gotta walk our own path of real life.
Right.
The doors open outside the high school ecosystem.
Right.
And yeah, school had its problems, but there were a couple of positives that students got out of it.
Peaking in high school depends on how you got popular in the first place, to be honest. Look, I agree with that because I don't think I was necessarily popular in school. I just think a lot of people ended up liking me by the end of the year, and that didn't turn me into no weirdo or nothing like that. I think it's like the people who were like instantly overly lit, like too much access to like all the finest shorties or too much access to all the guys hitting her up and going to all the parties and never really getting to figure out themselves. Like I think things like that is what ended up stagnating people. You feel what I'm saying? I think you're right on the spot. Like, how you got popular matters. I'll agree with that.
I hated waking up early in the morning just to go to school by 8 a.m., but at least it gave me some discipline and some accountability.
Right.
There was no way my Asian parents would let me skip school, so I had a decent sleep schedule. Can't say that about now though. And my physical education class was one of my favorite periods. It was the one class where you got to move around instead of sitting at your desk all day. I sucked a lot at the sports, but eventually I found something that I was good at, which was running. I had fun making personal records of my time, and it kept me active without even thinking about it. But now, exercise is all on you.
Right.
There's no one forcing you to run laps, no scheduled time to be active and move your body. You could be spending your entire day glued to your phone, doom scrolling on a random Tuesday, and nobody would say it.
Hey, bro, I'm not gonna lie. Take it from me, who's 24-year-old, 6'4", bro. Exercise and stretch, bro. You just gonna, I haven't lost any mobility, but it's like I could feel it creeping up, bro. You gotta really like take care of your body, bro. That shit do not last forever, bro.
This is the adult life. Nobody is holding your hand to help you anymore. And this entire change from the school life to the adult life is what makes people peak in high school, since a lot of people aren't ready for the adulthood. The people who are unprepared were probably too busy talking to girls, being a class menace, getting into fights, or vaping in the bathrooms. I'm so glad I didn't put that much energy into being cool. I think I already accepted that I wasn't really going to be popular.
Right.
In high school, I only wore what my parents...
I'm not gonna lie, I did not accept that shit. I ain't gonna lie. I did not accept it. I was in school tight every day. Not tight, but I was always like, damn. Because the thing was like, I wanted a shorty, bro. It was hard to get a shorty if you wasn't kind of lit. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no value system inside of high school like there is in real life. Real life, like, they know how to gauge you. He got bread. He got some good stuff standing with his family. He wears his clothes. He's responsible. He da-da-da-da-da. You could gauge value on a person in real life. In like, high school, how many people fuck with you? Are you on a basketball team? Football team? Track? Are you at least a star on track? If you're not at least some of those, bro, how pretty do you look? You don't got that either, you're cooked. You're cooked. Like, that was like the only way, bro. And then those things would inherently make you popular if you had all of the above. Like, if you're somebody who was like a multi-athlete and you were attractive and your parents can afford to give you solid clothes, popular. It didn't matter. But now, like, in real life, that doesn't necessarily matter no more. But that don't, I ain't gonna lie, it was a lot.
Bought me. I had no money. I was built like a chopstick. I did not fit the criteria for being the cool kid.
Right.
Seeing a cool kid was something else. Man, these guys had so much aura. Everybody in the school knew their name. Everyone wanted to be friends with them. They had it all. But after high school, that aura fades, and then we look at them again and realize, why were they put up on a pedestal? They're just an average Joe.
Yeah.
This won't apply to everyone, but the popular kids do get hit the hardest because they were always held at a higher expectation. It also didn't help that the popular kids usually had an ego, and I guess you can't really blame them because everybody was being overly nice to them. How
else are you going to tell a 16, 17, 14-year-old to manage their ego when they're getting everything, not everything, but they're getting things that matter to them in life at a very young age? Like, that's a hard thing to navigate.
Hyping them up. But after graduation, they won't be getting that treatment anymore. And that's something that they're going to have to get used to. Years from now, you'll hear them reminiscing like,
man, back in high school, I had all the hugs I couldn't even choose.
Like, bro, let it go. High school ended years ago. You're too busy living in the past to realize that you're literally taking my order at McDonald's right now. Put the fries in the bag, bro. The crazy thing is how life takes a complete turn during this period.
Okay.
Because I notice, post-graduation is when the nerds come out on top. We see these kids studying so hard in school, who stayed after class.
I think this is facts, but I also think this is kind of a trope. You don't have to be the nerd. You didn't have to be the book. There's people who are in my high school who are nerds and they're still nerds. Like, they're just, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, like, they didn't amount to nothing, but there's people who, like, went from being a nerd and falling off of that. Like, you get what I'm saying? I do think that there is a little bit of a trope behind the fact of, like, oh, every popular kid falls off and all the nerds are lit. That's not always true. That's not always true. Like, even, and vice versa. There is popular kids who went to my school who are lit now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they were lit. Their parents had money. They put them in a good-ass program. They went to that good-ass program. Now they just went from being popular to, like, having money. And now they're doing stuff with their life, too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, just for a little bit of clarification, it's a little bit of a trope that, like, the nerd is the one who exceeds and the popular one just falls out. Nah, that's not always true. That's not always true.
Do extra credit work instead of doing what the other kids did. They would be whining and complaining because they got an A- instead of an A on the exam. But those were the ones who ended up getting into a good college and started to glow up, live life, and become successful. Not the ones who focused on the high school drama and chasing girls the whole time. They put their energy towards the future. Someone must have told them something, because they knew life in high school had no significance in the grand scheme of things. Life was not a race, but a marathon. And they made the smart decision to develop a good work ethic and personality. So the ones who worked hard, missed out on the high school years to enjoy college, I applaud them. These people are the type to have the biggest glow-ups too. Cause all the pretty girls and guys in high school used to be the center of attention. But the shy girl or guy who kept to themselves, a bit more reserved, they're the type to glow up post high school. And the best part is how they're humble, since they developed a personality before their looks. So far, I talked about the popular kids who fall off and the nerds who glow up. But where does the majority stand? Because most of us aren't either of these two, we're more so in between. Take a look at this bell curve. You got a small percentage of the super popular kids in the front, and then a small percentage of the ones who get picked on, but the vast majority, that's most of us, the middle ground. And unfortunately, the real tragedy of peaking in high school isn't the popular kids, it's definitely not the nerds, but it's the ones who are average. Because most of the ones who fall in the middle still have something going on for them, some potential, but they stayed average, and they never took off. Because yeah, the popular kids that fell off had the biggest hit, but at least they got that high. At least one point in their life, they were on top. But the ones who are average kind of seem to fall invisible and comfortable with where they are.
In chat said, I was average as hell. I think genuinely, because I was in Virginia, I think now if you look at it, I was average to above average, like in high school. Like if you looked at it objectively, like from any high school perspective. But if you look at it from a Virginia high school perspective, I genuinely think I was below average to like bottom of the list. You feel what I'm saying? But I do think that I was like average at heart in high school, and then I just made up for it like afterwards. I'm not gonna lie, life been going great.
And that's sad, because it's not like they crashed and burned, but they never really rose either. They never got to experience a peak in life, just a flat line of mediocrity. For example, we have those types of entrepreneurs who dive into making music, making a clothing brand, or being a content creator. I'm listing that because I found that to be the most common in my school. And they might not have the best content or the best music or the best designs for their clothes, but they were trying, and they might succeed if they kept at it for a couple more years. But then they stopped trying, and they're gone. Another example would be the extremely smart students. I'm not talking about like the 3.7 GPA students. I'm talking about the ones who went above and beyond. The ones who took AP classes, college courses while in high school.
A lot of them flamed
They're
out.
academic weapons, but this time, maybe they weren't as fortunate as others who made it to their dream school and got slapped with the rejection. And instead of pushing forward, they just gave up. I used to see these guys pulling all-nighters to finish assignments. Now, they're pulling all-nighters to play Valorant. Like, what the fuck? And it sucks because I know how hard they work.
Bruh. It's burnout. I get it. You flame out after a certain point. I get it. It's hard, bro. It's hard keeping intensity across your life, bro. The more intense you are, the harder it's gonna be to keep that intensity. But the longer you could keep intensity going, the more you get out of life. Like the fact that like I was able to work ridiculously hard from 2016, 17 on animation all the way up until 2023, 2024 is simply the fact that like 2024 and 2025 have been good years for me. The ability to do that though, it's almost not even an ability. It's just strictly like you have to not prioritize your health. You have to want something so bad that you're willing to just give up family for it, time for it, sleep for it. Like if you could find a way to sustain your upped intensity, genuinely, you will find like whatever you want in life. You'll achieve whatever you want in life. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. But I get it. Burning out's a real
one setback
thing.
Just kind of made them stop caring.
Yeah.
And they just settled.
You can't let the setback
But you
stop
shouldn't
bro.
settle. You can't stop trying because of a rejection. Look at Eric O. This guy has a great story on how he got rejected from his dream schools, but instead of quitting, he went to community college, put in the work, made it to USC, and now he's living better than ever. All because he kept going.
Right.
As he was right, I used to be such a loser, and now I'm less of a loser. Kind of.
At the end of the day, high school is just a small chapter in your life. You still have a whole life ahead of you.
Agreed.
If any of you guys watching are still in high school, my best advice is to look forward with optimism in your future.
Right.
So don't worry too much about the high school drama. Your crush that you get rejected by won't matter. You'll have to face getting rejected on a daily. That test you failed, it won't matter either.
Right.
You're gonna fail plenty more exams in the future.
Join the
But
Discord.
keep your head up,
by the way.
and you'll be fine.
I be telling people this all the time, man. Number one, he's right. Keep your head up, you'll be fine. High school is so small. But at the same time, I understand what high school is like from y'all's perspective. Because when you're in high school really feels like the world. And I mean that in the sense of like, it's everything. Like, you spend 8 hours a day there. Everybody in there talks about everything that y'all all know. So if one thing happens over here, you're more than likely going to hear about it. It's hard, it's difficult, I'm already knowing. But at the same time, if you could really distinguish the fact that this won't matter, so I'm okay, let me do what I want to do now, you will literally have the opportunity to be the happiest that you've ever been. The longer it takes for you to stop essentially caring and stop letting the people in high school dictate the things that you do, the quicker that you'll end up an overly happy person, genuinely. But if you guys enjoyed the video, comment twice. It helps me in the algorithm. Check out me and Yo-Yo's channel. It's called SXY, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.